Hey guys, I'm Morthadon, and we are back for Serial Experiments Lain, episode 13, the finale. So, last time we had some crazy stuff. We had Arasu getting to keep her memories while everyone else had theirs wiped. She confronted Lain about it, and saw that Lain was struggling with, reality versus the wired, and do we need physical bodies? And I think Arasu helped her realize that physical bodies are useful, are needed, at least a little bit in that moment. And so when Masumi shows up, she rebels against him, and he starts to take on some monstrous Resident Evil looking form, and ends up, like, I don't know if it was the power of Lain or if it was his own power that, like, all the technology sucked and, like, cocooned him in. But I'm wondering if it is like a cocoon where he's gonna, like, hatch out of it or something. But it's pretty crazy stuff going on in this show at the moment, and we have one more episode to learn as much as we can before we try to extrapolate theories. So let's watch it and see what happens. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna start here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Oh. We kept seeing that on the TV screen, right? Hmm. Got weirdly meta. Hmm. Interesting. That's huh. I think there's a way that you can interpret that to be like meta, to like talking to the audience, of being like, there's millions of copies of this show out there, so that means her existence is in a lot of places, right? But do all those existences equate to being her, right? Like, I feel like there could be some kind of like meta aspect to look at it there. In terms of like the story of the show, I don't think so, but in terms of that little bit, that little shot right there was interesting. That was cool. The alternative is that she's just talking kind of to the wired, of being like, I know, being like omnipotent within the wired means that she's everywhere, right? But not in the wired, she's disconnected, she's alone, it's just her. I feel like it could be like leading to that as well, so if we don't want to go for the meta angle, right? I guess it was a little different. That's like the kind of scene that we see on like the TVs every now and then. I thought that's what like the very beginning was. Ego. Yeah. You saw a little bit of this, and then all the computer parts are gonna start. That would be some shit. Oh god, it's so gross. It really is like straight up a Resident Evil monster. I don't blame you, Arsu. Oh shit, her eyes are like bloodshot. Is she okay? Is she just freaking out? Oh shit. Arsu just gives up. Or did she, like... Shit. Did, like, Arsu just all reset, return? Interesting. Shit. How far back? We, like, first episode? Hmm. Is this her family? Is that the sister? Tell the whole world, why don't you? Yeah. Thinking about Lain. Yeah, I mean, normally, like, a normal parent would be concerned, but the fact that they're, like, hired to be her parents, apparently, or at least they think by Lain herself, kind of thing. That's what it felt like when the father was talking to them, or talking to Lain. It makes sense that they wouldn't, like, nag her, right? To be like, hey, come eat dinner at the table, kind of thing. They just let her do whatever she wants because she's their employer, essentially. It also might be that she just wasn't home. This is crazy. So did we just reset? Arasu, okay. Oh, do they not know who Lain is? It was like instinct to her. There's like a little bit of muscle memory there, but the memory is actually gone, kind of thing. Oh, Chise. Or Chisa. Yeah. Oh. So it's Chisa that went instead? Chisa didn't kill herself, or at least not yet? Hmm. Don't be walking backwards across the street. Looks like a gun. Jeez. That is... Oh. Hmm. Damn kids. It's Masumi, right? So it's even... Are we all the way before Masumi, or do they, like, revert that chain? We're, like, in a freaking alternate line. Oh, that's fucking... Yeah, the two guys. Do they have a different line of work because the line of work they got brought into doesn't exist? It's like an alternate reality if, like, the events of Masumi and all that hadn't taken place, right? What isn't remembered never happened. Memory is merely a record. Hmm. You just need to rewrite that record. Oh! I love it. What? And it's usually what we get at the very beginning of the episode. I had to check how long the episode is. I usually never check how long the episodes are. Would have been crazy if now we're going into like a full episode time and they did like a little bit longer of an episode for the final. But no, it's normal length. Very lonely, being entirely forgotten. Hmm. Got very existential this episode. What? Oh, you never existed, or never a person. Hmm. It's like that other like god personality persona. Like I guess this episode is called Ego. It's like Lane's ego of like having this power, talking to her. Interesting. Oh, she like successfully rejecting her ego, essentially. Oh man. What was that? Was that Masumi? Or was that a different voice? Oh, it's the dad. Interesting. This is wild. So many tears. Damn. It was something like weirdly emotional. Like, there's something about that scene that just like hit me. Like, I actually just got really emotional for a second there. And like, I don't even know if I fully understand what made me so emotional. Like, my eyes watered a little bit in that moment. And it wasn't like, I don't really think it was for Lain. I almost want to say it was something more like she spent so much time being alone and then having that other person to talk to. Is that Arasu when she's older with the teacher? Hmm. Because she said like you waited for me, so I feel like it could be like waited till she was of age kind of thing. Hmm. All right. Very interesting. Lain being like the same age and stuff. Makes me wonder if she ever really was real, right? Hmm. Oh, that's creepy. Don't do that. No. She's always gonna be with me forever. Huh. Wow. Damn. I'm not gonna lie. It was vague. I still don't know what's real and what's not. And usually at the end of shows, not knowing, like, usually I want them to answer things, right? I want to know, right? I don't want to have to try to guess and figure things out on my own. Like, I don't mind trying to guess and figure things out on the way, right? But in the end, I want them to tell me how it is, not just, oh, it's your own interpretation bullshit. But the way this show handled it, it got sorry, existential, and like it even got me a little bit with like the scene with her father. It was something about just like we witnessed pure loneliness where she was only in like her own mind. She was only talking to herself. She was completely isolated for who knows how long. And then all of a sudden the father reached out, and like there's something deeper in this where I think it really does, like, this episode made me not really care as much about, is Lain a real person? Is she a program? What does it all mean and how does it all work? I think instead it's really made me that's actually it, guys. Sorry. That is it for episode 13, and that's it for the show. But yeah, to continue with what I was saying, I think what this show made me feel in this episode was just like it was like another level. I'm trying to put it into words. I'm sorry. I'm like I had it like before the show ended and I said my spiel. I like knew how I was gonna word it. But I'm trying to think about like essentially what I'm trying to get at is like the loneliness of people like not really knowing you and being isolated. And I think a lot of it is teaching us that like people weren't meant to be that way, like humans weren't meant to be gods either, where everyone like adores them and all that, right? But people need to be known. And that's what has driven humanity to a lot of our developments is a lot of like people like to be famous. That's why people put their names on things, right? Like that's why whenever a invention or something is created, a lot of the times it's known after the person, like their last name or their first name or something, and it's it's just one of those things where we strive to be remembered because like this show was saying, if we're not remembered, then did we even exist? And that's actually like a really terrifying thing to think about, is if there's no one left. Like if you think about it, if you're the last one of your friends and your family, right, that's alive, like it's a sad thought, but and and you die, there's no one left alive to know you, other than maybe random people that have seen you around. But that's not really knowing you, right? It's essentially kind of like with Arasu seeing Lain here at the end and being like, "Do I know you from somewhere?" It's kind of like that, where they'd be like, "Oh, maybe I've seen you somewhere before," but yeah, it definitely got like super existential there and makes you think about, wanting to be remembered and stuff like that. And I've never really put much stock in that because it's never really been my thing. Like, I'm very much a loner. I'm a very isolated person. I prefer, I do like every now and then, I do like having people to go to and talk to, and I do spend, for all of my talk of me saying that I'm introverted and stuff like that, I spend a lot of time on Discord talking to a handful of my friends. Um and there are times where they're not around as much. They're busy and doing life stuff, and I do really start to feel lonely just kind of sitting here doing my thing, right? And I think there really is something to what they were talking about, not being remembered, meaning you never existed, kind of thing, and all that, and leaving a mark and leaving a legacy and all that is very important to humanity. And we saw Lain, hit that reset button because she saw, the one friend she had remaining or at all. She saw what she did to her, but with her existence being there and everything drove her mad. Like, I don't know if Arasu would have recovered from that situation she was at if Lain never hit the reset button, or if she would have been like the sister. Like, the sister was almost in like a vegetable like mind melted state, and Arasu could have been like that forever if Lain didn't do anything. But Lain wiped the slate clean this time, even with Arasu, not just leaving Arasu with the memory, right? And and I think there's also something to be said about Arasu's memory being wiped, but still having that lingering little bit of connection to Lain. Being able to see her and have that feeling of like, do I know you? Just shows how powerful like the human mind is, right? You can have that intuition of like, even after having your memory wiped, to be like, I think I know you. And that's like, that's mind blowing to me, because if your memory is wiped, how can that happen? But there's something fundamental about it that I just believe it, right? I've never experienced it myself, but I believe that that is a thing, and maybe that's just because I've seen several TV shows that are like that too, and everything. But man, all right. We also had like those different messages coming up, almost like Lain was talking to us as the audience, which made the episode even more kind of existential in a way of like, hey, now that you've seen me, you know me, which means I exist, right? But which one is me? Who am I? And stuff like that. I don't know if it was really going for the meta approach of like, us the viewers now know Lain, so now, she continues to exist kind of thing, or if it was just like, supposed to be, it like looked at a different way and I'm looking at it that way, right? But but yeah, man. And it's crazy because before this episode, I was like, I want to know what's going on. I was like, I want to know, is Lain really real? Is she not? I mean, going back to those theories, just because I feel like I should talk about it, because maybe some of you guys still do care about that, right? Because like the way I feel about it at the end is like, I don't even care about all of it. But to talk about it for those of you who may care and want to know my thoughts, I mean, the fact that we have Lain, I don't know. I really don't know whether Lain was an actual physical person or not, or was she this program that inserted herself into the memories of, or someone inserted for her, like into the memories of everyone, right? And that's why they were able to see her and communicate with her and all that, like, is because she was in their minds, right? Uh, but I don't know, like, or did she actually have a physical body? Did she have a physical body, but then she transcended that into the wired? That's like a third option, right? Because, I mean, the thing is, here at the end, we see Arasu older and Lain not. To me, that could either mean at one point she had a physical body, but she transcended that inside the wired, and then was able to manifest herself just at the same age, because once you're in the wired, there's no need for aging, kind of thing. And, and manifested herself as the same age, or she never did have a body, so she just manifests herself at that age all of the time, right? That's just how she views herself. So, but where Lain started, was she really like created a program created by Masami? I don't know. Like I don't really have the answers to that. Maybe someone has been able to analyze the show a bit more and does have some answers, but I just love that they made it this level. Like, going back to the father scene again, I also love how simple it was. Like, just that little moment. Like, it's like Lain was drowning, but then the father showed up and gave her that little bit of, like, you know. It's also, you could maybe relate the story a little bit to, like, the way God views humans in the way Lain views everything, right? And having this other figure go up to Lain and be like, "Yeah, but you love them, don't you?" And that's like enough to make Lain continue. Like, it felt like Lain almost wanted to like insert herself into everyone's memories again, and she wanted to go back to the way things were, but she knows what kind of harm that can do to some of the people's lives by her existing in them. Um, but the father saying that, being like, "You love them, don't you?" Almost like it might have given her that resolve to like stay out, but make that one little appearance to Arasu and everything. And I don't even know that she ever really planned for Arasu to go up to her, but you know, she did continue with like the "yeah, we never met" kind of thing. But man, super fascinating. I loved it. And like I said, that little moment, I think it's like everyone like I I'm trying to think of why that scene got me so emotional, because it wasn't like, "Oh, look, Lain getting to talk to her father again," because it wasn't even really her father, right? I think it was just seeing Lain drowning in that loneliness, and then having that one person reach out to her even after everyone's memories were wiped, which means the father's memories should have been wiped too. So it's like, how did the father reach out? And the answer could just be, like he said, love, right? Um, can maybe transcend those boundaries and stuff like that. And there was something about that just hit me on like another level that I don't know that I fully understand, but it still hit me, right? And I don't know that I've ever had a show that was able to make me emotional and me not understand why. Like, I've heard people say that, of like, "Man, that made me really sad and I don't know why." Like, I've never had that before. I've always, like, if I've gotten emotional at shows, but it's like, yeah, that's because this character died and I really like this character and now she's dead, you know? Like, or, and seeing, like, the other people going on without the person and crying. Like, I'm very much a sympathetic crier, for sure. I do get emotional way easier if I see other people crying. Not always. Like, I've watched reactions. Like, I've watched a show and didn't cry at all during the show, right? And then I'd watch a reaction to the show where one of the guys in the reaction cried during one of the episodes because it hit, obviously different circumstances in life make people interpret things differently and they get emotional about different things. It's just how life is. And so I'd see them like start crying at that scene, and yes, it's a sad scene. I didn't cry when I saw it the first time, but seeing it the second time and seeing this person cry for that scene, I would actually have my eyes watering up and tearing up and everything. And it's like I do that a lot for a lot of shows, and I think that like having that level of emotion affect me, I think is one reason why I love watching reactions too. And there's other scenes where I never laugh. Like, it's the same thing. It's like all emotions. Like, when I see someone else laughing at a scene, I never really laughed at that scene myself, but I'll laugh at it because they're laughing at it, right? It's like emotions can be contagious and stuff. So, but yeah, this is the this is kind of the first time where I was like, okay, I don't know why I just got so emotional, but I did, and I love it. I I loved this episode. Like, this anime was great. I will say, episodes 1 through 12, there were a lot of moments where I had no idea what the hell was going on, but I truly think the finale just killed it. But yeah, guys, that's it for me. I mean, I don't think there's much more to say. I think this show, as crazy as it is, and as like confusing as it is, I think it speaks for itself. It's weird to say that because it's so confusing that it shouldn't speak for itself. But by the time you get to the end, I think it does. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. So I have no idea what's replacing this show. You guys can check out my Patreon. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, by now the poll is over. But for me, at the time of me recording this, the poll is not over. So you guys can check that out, and you should be able to see which show has won. You also might start seeing the episodes popping up on my Patreon as well. So if you see a new show that you haven't seen before, it's probably the one that replaced this as well. So check all that out if you're interested. Links are in the description below. Should be popping up on the screen as well. Hopefully, you guys will stay remembered. And I will see you in my future reactions. Bye-bye.